And now, live from America's Man Cave.
It's a cold, realistic world.
It's the Nick and Artie Show.
Uh-oh. Look out. Here it goes.
Yeah, Artie, wake up.
Why? Why? There's a Detroit Ranger game on. Why would I wake up?
Exactly. Hey, it's the Nick and Artie Show. It's that time again, kids. How are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. Big show tonight.
That's right. We have an exclusive coming up later.
Exclusive interview with Hank Williams Jr. We're
That's
the
right.
first one to get it for radio,
That's right.
right?
I think, yeah. If you count other media, I think we're the 96th, but
Yeah.
with radio, we're the first.
We're first. That's right. But we do have the exclusive. The man called here personally.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And we talked to a legend.
And you'll hear that later in the show.
Absolutely. If we don't screw up. It's a new operation. Again, and I don't mean to be pissy, but it's 11 degrees. I can see your breath when you talk.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't mind the cold.
I don't either. But
Right.
you know what I mean? Cold is one thing. You have Ted Williams' head sitting at the table next to us is another.
Speaking of Ted Williams' head, it's
Was that in the news today?
it's a little it's probably a little peeved right now at the fact that there's a big story that's come out that a reliable source inside the Cubs organization says that Theo Epstein is close to signing with the Cubs officially.
First of all, I love who decides that person's a reliable source.
I don't know.
I'm just saying. Didn't that crack you up? That
Yeah, I listen.
maybe it's Don Zimmer with a few whiskeys in him. You don't know. He was talking in his sleep, and his wife.
Yeah,
I'm furious.
as a Red Sox fan, how does that make you feel? I mean, here's the architect of the guy who finally got you out of an 86-year drought.
Yeah, it took us 86 years.
Yeah.
86 years to have some success and to be able to poke our eyes in the Yankees' faces, and we're going to piss it all away in about, what, a month?
Yeah, I mean, and
Because of a bad September against the Tampa Bay Rays.
well, it was a little more than a bad September. I think that's an understatement.
Oh, well, fill me in. It came down to the last strike, Artie, of the season.
Yeah, but it was a horrific September.
I'm playing devil's advocate.
As a Red Sox fan, that's not
it's a month, a bad month.
Yeah.
And you get rid of Epstein, and the guy, I do nothing but brag about this guy for the last, since 2004, going, this is a young kid, smart, he's hip, and I know it's a business. I don't want to sound Pollyannish here.
Right.
I know it's a business. But for crying out loud, between this and college football disintegrating, all these great rivalries that built up over 100 years.
the NBA lockout.
Who cares about that?
I do.
But you're right. No, you're absolutely right. And I know these are all businesses, but for crying out loud, they don't even try to hide it now.
Well, I'll tell you why this is a dumb move by the Red Sox, and if they sort of pushed him into this. As a Yankee fan, this is great news to me. I like that he's not there. I like that Terry Francona's not going to be there. I think he should take Francona with him to Chicago if this is true.
Yeah,
and
he probably will.
Could you imagine if they win there too? I mean, put Theo Epstein in Cooperstown if he wins in Chicago.
And that's what he's hoping.
Yeah,
I'm
well, sure.
I like to know what we're not even going to get players for him. Is that what it said in the deal?
Yeah, it sounds like another. It sounds like another no Nanette Babe Ruth situation.
Yeah, they said we're gonna get a thing of pine tar, a rosin bag, and 2 14th round draft choices.
It reminds me of a story. A minor league hockey player once was traded for a net.
That's true.
Right,
That's true.
He was traded for equipment.
That's
right?
true. And you think it was back in 1905? No, 1986. No,
Yeah.
but that's true.
I think Theo Epstein was traded, for some. Yeah, they're getting some pine tar and a pitching rubber to be named later.
And again, and I don't mean to be a child, and I know it's a business, but all that talk, Red Sox Nation, and the fans are the most important thing.
Sickening.
Couldn't get out of the door quick enough to grab a couple more bucks.
Yeah, but
come on, how much money do you need for the love of Pete's
Yeah,
sake?
but
sorry for the strong language.
It sounds like the Red Sox. I mean, it's not him just running out the door. It sounds like he got sort of disrespected a little bit, and And
Who got disrespected?
Theo Epstein by Red Sox Nation, or whatever you want to call it.
Not Red Sox Nation, but the upper brass you're talking about.
As
right?
a Yankee fan, could you explain to me exactly what Red Sox Nation is? What is that?
It's New England. We represent a whole bunch of states.
Okay. Yeah,
you represent New Jersey and New York.
Yeah.
And some of Connecticut. Red Sox Nation goes all the way up to Vermont.
But is it the fans? Like, what does it consist of? So Red Sox Nation is the fans.
Yes. And its gross domestic product is 12 times that of Nigeria.
Yeah. That's one of the goofiest things I've ever heard, calling yourself a nation.
Oh, please. I got to listen to you. You know the
There's
problem?
no Yankee nation.
No, you know what the Yankees? You're stuck in the past. If I hear more talk about the core four, that's all I've been hearing about. Since they lost, you listen to the radio. Tino Martinez wouldn't have done that. Swisher couldn't carry his shoes. And the core four, get over it, man.
I'm not trapped in the past,
Not
even
you.
though I think Mickey Rivers still should be leading off.
I love Mickey Rivers, by the way.
The core is talking about the core four isn't being caught in the past because some of them are still around. You still got Jeter, Posada might go.
No, but they keep. If you listen to it, they keep pining back to 1996 through those teams and what they did. They can't let it go. It's like, yeah, you had an amazing run.
I'll tell you, the only nation the Yankees are a part of are the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Dominican Republic.
Thank you. I don't need any applause for that. Thank you. Speaking of Jeter, how whipped is he?
Well, yeah, his season's over now, and he needs a place to put his ball bag.
Yeah, his season.
Whoops.
See, this is what I mean as a fan. After you drop a total of about $42,000 at Yankee Stadium this year on food and drink.
That would be you, Artie.
And parking, and whatever.
Not everybody eats 7 hot dogs.
And you spend all that money on a team.
Yeah.
And Jeter, as soon as they lose in the first round, the captain could not be in Miami quick enough trying to get laid. And we have to look at it. I don't care if he does it. But he should be doing it, but I don't want to see it.
Where should he be going? To Scranton?
Well, yeah. As a matter of fact, I'd rather him go to Scranton, where it's a little chilly still, and at least have to wear a jacket while he's.
I can see why he's running back to her, man. She's about a 19 on a scale of 10.
Yeah, she's hot, but why
he's
not?
had a million of them though. At this point, it doesn't matter.
Why not just go to like the Red Lobster, throw a rock, and have sex with the hottest chick it hits? Does he have to go? And I think it's going to end up in Jeter's going to star in an episode of Charlie's Angels. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, and he's going to be in a Ford Edge. He's going to pull up in his Ford Edge with his supermodel girlfriend.
I'd like to see him play Bosley in the new Charlie's Angels.
Hello, Angels. I know I've slept with you all.
That guy sounded like a pervert.
Sound like a 5-pack a day.
That was the creepiest guy to put around Farrah Fawcett, Kate Jackson, and Jacqueline Smith.
Absolutely.
That guy who played Bosley.
They should have put him in a trench coat with a bag of Twinkies.
Really?
Looking in their bathroom window every night.
I haven't seen that new. Have you seen the new Charlie's Angels yet?
What do I look like? Ryan Seacrest?
No.
I
mean,
no, I was too busy seeing.
Yeah, why not just watch? I mean, like, I know it's got hot chicks on it, but why not just watch porn? Like, the porno chicks nowadays are just as hot.
Oh, they're better looking.
Yeah,
better looking.
And they do more. Why watch hot chicks solve crime? I don't care if they solve a crime.
They do more? Like what? Change tires and fix transmissions?
No, I'm just saying, a porno even for women, I think, would be more interesting than an episode of Charlie's Angels.
Well, why are they doing a remake? This is where we're at creatively in Hollywood.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they did a movie about remember they did an A-Team movie. They showed the A-Team?
Right.
I wouldn't have watched that if they were filming that in my living room.
Well, they did, actually. I don't remember.
They did an episode, and I had to move out and get an apartment for 6 months. But they made a movie about that. Now, Charlie's Angels, I actually watched a rerun.
Right.
You know, and it's so hokey and funny. You ever watch shows from the 70s?
Oh, God, yeah.
It's priceless. Every guy's got a necktie on with a knot is the size of, grilled cheese. It's like a 6-foot triangle. And
Fantasy Island was the best with Mr. Rourke because, nerdy guys, their fantasies would never be to have sex with, 11 cheerleaders. It was always like, I want to swim with the dolphins or something. That was their fantasy. And there'd be a lesson at the end. But I think Jeter doesn't treat women like this. Jeter just loves them and leaves them. Unlike Tom Brady, who's got to have a kid with every broad he meets, supposedly.
We don't know what he's doing when he's not in that huddle. But I know. Those two, huh? Imagine?
Yeah.
I just like to get their scraps.
Yeah. Oh,
You know
my God. Forget it.
But
what happens, like Brad Pitt when he goes to a party in Hollywood? It's like a lion on the Serengeti. I want you.
him and his 12 African children in tow.
That's fun when you got Brad Pitt's life. And
he's miserable.
I think he is, too.
Of course he is.
And I'm kind of happy about it.
He's miserable. He's got to find fresh fruit for the kids, and it's just horrible. I don't know what they're thinking over there. But anyways, hey, we got a lot more coming up. We're going to talk to the always outspoken and entertaining Stephen A. Smith. And we got to talk about a St. Louis broadcast of Peter's pants during a DUI arrest.
I almost did that once.
College football. We got everything. And again, Hank Williams Jr. got that interview. It's the Nick and Artie Show, 800-546-7663. Stay with us.
Tell all your hip-hop fan friends that NWA now stands for Nick with Artie. It's Nick DiPaolo and Artie Lang. Now, back to two guys whose diets are so unhealthy, they're the reason air fresheners were invented.
Welcome back to the Nick and Artie Show. How are you, folks? 800-546-7663 is the number. And as you know, the NBA lockout looks like they might not have a season, Artie. I know you're a huge fan.
I'm a big basketball fan, and this just makes me sad. It's just angry and sad.
It makes me feel just the opposite. I could give a hoots.
It makes me feel like I'm part of Red Sox Nation.
Oh, that's just below the belt, young lady. Let's go to a guy who knows about that. He can educate both of us. Very entertaining and outspoken. Stephen A. Smith, welcome to the show, Stephen.
Good evening, fellas. How you guys doing?
Very good. First question, Steve. What's the A stand for?
Anthony.
Anthony. See that?
Anthony. All right.
Philly guy.
Stephen Anthony Smith.
I love it. What's the latest now in the NBA lockout? I know it was, they were fighting about the BRI, basketball related income.
Which must be a lot of money.
Yeah, and the owners wanted to get it down to 50-50. Now, I always thought, Stephen, that in America, the owners always made more money than I don't want to say the help, but the employees. Isn't that how it works?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, listen, they've been debating back and forth and going off about BRI, and that's what you've been hearing. But honestly speaking, that hasn't been the biggest issue. The players were making 57% of basketball-related income. They dwindled that number down to 53%. Their objective was basically to give back to the owners in excess of $300 million because the owners claim that's what they lost last year alone. Due to a lack of revenue coming in. They claim that 22 teams lost in excess of $450 million, that 8 teams made $150 million. And that's how they got to the $300 million, and there's just such a discrepancy that it's problematic for them. But what's really at issue, what really hasn't been discussed extensively, but what really is the issue is the owners are after what they deem to be competitive balance. They want it so all the small market teams would have just as much of an opportunity to field the winner as the larger market teams, and they believe that with a LeBron James leaving Cleveland to go to Miami, with Chris Bosh following him, with Mickey Arison having the pockets to give three guys more than $100 million, even though they finagled their way under the cap to make that happen. Most small market teams wouldn't be able to do that. And what you have now is something called the luxury tax. You got the salary cap, and then on top of that, that's an escrow tax, which the players give back 10% of their money or whatever. That's too complicated. But then there's a luxury tax trigger number. And what that means
does that work?
Is that it's $1. What that means is that there's a dollar for dollar tax that goes beyond. You'll get a dollar for dollar tax if you overspend like a particular number. Let's say, for example, the Lakers, their roster, the luxury tax number was $70 million. But the Lakers roster existed $95 million in player salary. So that's $25 million over the luxury tax number, which means that it ended up costing them $120 million, because on top of the $95 they played in player salaries, they had to pay an additional $25 million back to the league because they went over that trigger number. So that's a dollar for dollar tax. The league is trying to get it so it could be $2, $3, $4 for every $1.
For every dollar. I get you.
And the players are trying to get them not to do that.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Like clearly, like you know what you're talking about here, and it sounds more complicated than maybe it is. But in this economy, when an average fan starts hearing the numbers you're throwing around, I mean, you're throwing around 25 million, 300 million, 100 million. I mean, if basketball doesn't have a season this year, in the fans' minds, like how bad does it hurt them?
Well, let me say this. In the fans' mind, it'll hurt, but the players, and it's tough for me because I believe both sides have an argument. I believe the players have every right to try and hold on to what they want to hold on to what they have, because the league is popular and they have everything to do with it. I also believe that the owners in a free market society have the right to make money. And if they say to you that they're losing money and they're signing you to these exorbitant dollars, then ultimately something needs to be fixed. The problem at the end of the day, where I lean towards the owners and not so much towards the players, is that you don't have the leverage if you're the players. There's not another NBA league. If you were going to go overseas to play, like some of them were intimating they were going to do, there's only about 15 to 20 guys that would be able to pull that off. Well, what about the other 430 to 435 players in the NBA? What about them? And so when you're a player and you've got that kind of mentality, knowing that you have little to no leverage, basically showing up to a gunfight with a pocket knife, acting like you got leverage, that doesn't make sense to me. At some point in time, it ain't about right and wrong. It's about, do you have leverage? And I told the players to their face one of these things. I sit here and I'll talk, whether it was with Fox in the past, whether it was ESPN in the past, or the present, or whatever the case may be. I want X, Y, and Z. They're on the phone with my representatives. We're negotiating a deal. And at some point in time, the people who cut the checks say, this is our final offer. Take it or leave it. And it amazes me how the players can sit back and say, no, we don't have to accept that. Oh, yes, the hell you do. If not tomorrow or today, then next month or next year. But eventually, that's exactly what the hell you're going to do.
Right. Yeah, well, there's certain players that you're right. Certain players have leverage because they're great and they're superstars. But you're right. 90% of the league doesn't. And I just think that from a popularity standpoint, you don't think NBA will take that big of a hit if they don't have a season this year?
I think they'll take a devastating hit on several fronts. First of all, let me address your point about star players. They have a little bit of leverage. Actually, no, you don't. Because if you don't have a league to play in, then how are you a star? You got to have some place to play. You got to have somebody to play against. And you can sit there and talk about going overseas if you want to. Do you really want to live in communist China? You sure about that? Are you positive? Do you really want to leave and live in some of these countries, particularly what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on in other foreign nations, as this economy has ravaged only our nation, but the global economy at large? I don't think so. Now we get back to the States and you talk about the popularity of the league. It's not the most popular thing to say, but let's call it like it is. You ain't the National Football League, which is America's national pastime. I mean, America's passion. And you're not Major League Baseball, which is America's national pastime. You're the National Basketball Association. So if you take that into account and see it for what it is, there's no way to navigate around the reality that you have a vast majority of Americans who are looking at you and saying, excuse me, you make over $5 million in an average salary. The league is projecting you'll average about $7 million before this deal is said and done. It is already the largest average salary in the history of North American sports. And we have a problem.
I was going to say, Stephen, they for years they were the highest paid out of all the sports, were they not?
Yes, they were. They have been, and they still are. And the reality is, again, you also couple that with the fact that the commissioner, who has been very skilled in these negotiations because this is all he's ever done, you got to remember what they said. The players wanted, and see, this is very difficult for me because it sounds like I'm being critical, overly critical of the players. And I hate that because I actually agree with their willingness to hold on to what they've earned. All I'm saying is that reality has to kick in, and you have to recognize the leverage you do and don't have, and make sure you don't blow what you already have. And I think when you look at the players, you have to make sense out of it from this perspective. The commissioner came out. You guys said, we're not going to tolerate any hard salary cap. He didn't do that to you. You sat there and said, we ain't going to sign some 10-year deal. He gave you an out after 7 years. You sat there and said, well, not only that, but we're not going to let you confiscate guaranteed contracts. They didn't do that either. Those are what you said was your big, big-time issues. Well, all of that was thrown off the table, and on top of it all, the commissioner says, we will guarantee you that the $2 billion you made in salary that you will continue to make annually over the life of this collective bargaining agreement we have reached with you. He guaranteed that. So if he guaranteed that you ain't going to take a pay cut, okay, and on top of it all, those big issues are what they've taken off the table as owners. I don't know how much of an argument you have to actually have games missed in this economy, with the NFL just finishing their lockout and with the American public looking at you and saying, well, everybody seemed to get it done, and everybody seems to understand the state of affairs we're living in. How the hell don't you understand it? I don't know how you get beyond that if you're a Major League if you're a National Basketball Association player.
Somebody has to explain the free market system to them. I think a lot of them think that. Seriously, I don't think they grasp that. And Derek Fisher, is that who's the
Derek Fisher?
How do you think he's doing?
Derek Fisher is the president. Billy Hunt is the executive director. Under the circumstances, I think they're doing a very, very good job. I think the problem is that the stars are flexing their muscle, and I think that the bravado, the machismo has kicked in. And I think they're more hell-bent on showing the owners that they have a resolve that the owners think they don't have, as opposed to really sitting down and dissecting not just the deal itself, but the climate that exists in today's economy. I think that's their problem.
Real quickly, Stephen, can we get your opinion on the Philadelphia Eagles? Because I know you worked in Philly for a while and covered that scene. Between the Phillies and the Eagles, what's the temperature of Philly?
They're very soft, and that's what their problem is. They went down and they got Nnamdi Asomugha, they got Jason Babin, they got Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, and a few other players. But they have a defensive coordinator that has never been a defensive coordinator since he coached it in high school in 1989.
Why is that?
Defensive coordinator is beyond me. And if Andy Reid doesn't fix this, it's going to cost him his job, which is why I think Andy Reid is addressing finding a defensive consultant to help him out. Offensively, they've got to stop turning the ball over. And Michael Vick needs to go back to being the Michael Vick of old. Can't worry about standing in the pocket and taking those hits. He's just too small. He's got to create havoc. He's got to show a willingness to run the ball. He's got to scare the living hell out of defenders by his willingness to run the ball, because that way they won't blitz him as much, because they'll be and to be able to really unload on them the way that you would like to. Those are the two elements that the Eagles need to address in order to improve that.
Stephen A. Smith, thanks a lot. We appreciate your expertise. And you can see him, you can hear him all over the radio. And basketball, football, he knows his stuff.
Yeah.
It's the Nick and Artie Show. We'll be back to talk about Kim Kardashian.
The Michael Vick of old. That's bad news for dogs.
800-546-7663.
Two guys who think steroids should only be allowed to be used on teams they've bet on. This is the Nick and Artie Show. Nick DiPaolo and Artie Lang. Two guys who make a living in the sports industry who've never had sex with a Kardashian.
Welcome back to the Nick and Artie Show. 800-546-7663 if you'd like to join in the mayhem.
Yeah, we got what I think is some fantastic audio because it just shows how this country I think we're worshiping the wrong people at this point. It's Kim Kardashian and her husband Chris Humphries, who I believe plays for the Nets. They did the Tonight Show, and the interview is so unbelievably dull and just mind-blowingly annoying.
Come on, Artie. Not reading it like that.
No, it just is to listen to their lives and what they think are like. If you're going to do a talk show, you have to come up with amusing anecdotes. You should, we as comedians know this.
That's right. They make us.
They make you jump through hoops. You got to pitch like 50 stories that are funny, and so this is what Kardashian and her husband came up with for the Tonight Show.
Any annoying habits have you found out? Now, let me ask you something. Okay, you've been married 6 weeks. Does he have any annoying habits have you found out? Uh-oh, I didn't realize this, or...
Okay, Chris, this is like what we all, cannot stand.
Who's we, first of all?
Me, Courtney, Chloe, Scott,
Remember,
Rob.
Wow. You didn't just marry a Kardashian.
He's banging them all?
You married the Kardashian.
So he, literally barks like a dog. It's like him and his boys,
literally.
If they're one's in the other room and they all want to leave, they'll be like arr arr arr, and they'll all
not like that.
and now Mason, every time he walks by, Mason goes arr arr arr.
Or it's more like, hey, to get the attention.
Right.
But it's arr.
I don't know if it's a bark. It's in between a bark and a yell.
You know what we call you? We nicknamed you the other day when you weren't there.
What?
We call you the dog. We're like, where's the dog?
Whoa!
That's terrible.
Did you put your heads together to come up with that one?
In bed with you too?
Oh.
Is that a problem?
He watches your show.
I've seen that.
Sometimes they like to sleep at the foot of the bed.
They are under the covers.
No,
on
that's
top
not true.
Of him.
That's not true.
So true.
That's so
That's
cute.
not true.
Yeah.
Well, before we got married,
Riveting.
Yeah.
Kim used to fold up all my clothes, make it neat.
Yeah.
I'm a neat person.
No,
but
she
was
didn't.
doing such a great job. I just let her do it. And
a maid
now
who
that
looked
we're
like
married,
him.
She walks in the room. It's like, your stuff's there. Put it away. We moved to New York. She doesn't
He
put my
said
stuff
I
away for me.
liked to clean up his stuff before, and I'm like,
You
I
did.
I didn't like it. I just
It's called a bait and switch.
But you know what I have to say? I've watched the show. You're the only person I've seen put makeup on to go to bed.
Wow.
No, son, I don't put it on to go to bed. I'm wearing it earlier, and then I get lazy, and I get in bed, and I don't wake up with makeup on. I don't, unless I fall asleep. I don't put it on to fall asleep. That's crazy.
All right.
She did when we first were dating.
No,
Now she's not doing it. She's comfortable like the clothes.
Listen to the crowd hang on in every word like they're watching Meet the Press with Brezhnev in the 50s.
How retarded was that crowd? They just laughed and applauded at what he just said?
Of course.
That she used to put makeup on?
Yeah.
Is that the most... that makes me furious
It's called
for some
vapid
reason.
is the word, isn't it?
Vapid might be a word for it.
Yeah.
Vacuous.
Vacuous. Shallow.
No, it just makes me furious that's what they can get away with, those two on a talk show.
I know, and then, like you said, when you and I have done those shows.
Well, comedians are like the gutter cleaners of show business.
They do a screen call with us on the phone first. You tell 3 stories
and those two put their heads together. We're doing the Tonight Show. Oh, I know. We'll tell the dog where you bark story.
Well, something tells me she's the one that's barking when they're in bed. You know what I'm saying. Guys, don't you picture that. She's famous because the thing that her poop comes out of is shaped like a heart. That's why she's a billionaire. What a country. What a country.
I feel bad for the boy Kardashian. He's not getting enough press. I think he should marry an athlete. He should marry an athlete.
Is there one?
There's a boy Kardashian, yeah.
I didn't know that. Does he have a nice ass, too?
He's cute.
He can go on Kimmel and talk about how he sleeps with 1 foot over the covers.
I like how she just says, me, Chloe, we're all mad at how you bark. And that's the anecdote they tell on the Tonight Show. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, how did that screening call go? I mean, that's the one they told. This is what we're gonna.
Well, I could see
this
like
matter, right?
a producer laughing,
like
fake laughing at it, like yeah, that'll work great. Jay will love that.
Yeah, we're gonna play the Hank. We're gonna play the Hank Williams Jr. Interview in about 5 minutes. Is that correct?
Next segment.
Yeah. Okay. What, Aaron? You're giving me hand signals like you're working at LaGuardia. You're on the tarmac bringing a 747. What?
Top of the hour.
Hank Williams Jr. just under. Oh, that's 15 minutes. Okay, that's terrific. Let's not tease it like we didn't get Obama on the phone. Nobody really gives a crap. Relax. Is this segment done already?
Obama's at the top of the next hour.
Come on. Yeah, we got Obama. Did we tell you that? We got him and Michelle. They're going to talk about how he barks. It's the Nick and Artie Show. If you want to join in, 800-546-7663. We'll be back right after this.
Nick and Artie, 2 guys who thought the royal wedding meant George Brett was getting married. Now back to 2 guys who love Italian food so much. As little leaguers, they rub their gloves with olive oil.
Hey, the Nick and Artie Show. Arthur?
What's up?
Oh, you know. 800-546-7663. Let's take a phone call from John in Boston. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, Nick, what's going on?
How are you?
I'm good. Congratulations on the show, Artie. Very nice to hear you.
All right, buddy.
What's on your mind?
I got a couple theories. I got an Albert Pujols theory.
Okay.
I think before the season started, I was talking about how I feel like that next season, the season coming up, we would be able to see Albert Pujols in a Red Sox jersey DHing for us. And my theory is get rid of David Ortiz, get rid of J.D. Drew. I mean, we got John Lackey. Unless we're going to eat his contract, Lackey's here, you know what I mean? But, realistically, you're looking at New York Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Phillies. Possibly Cubs, possibly Dodgers. I don't know, but I feel like after the collapse, they got to make a big move. And, what bigger move than bringing in Albert Pujols to DH?
Will he agree to DH? He likes to play, doesn't he? Will he agree to that role? He's first baseman.
It's just funny how now, Ortiz is going, and it's just Lackey stuck there.
No, I'm not saying, hey, Ortiz, you didn't perform or anything, get out of here.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, this
That's
is
what I'm
a
saying.
huge disappointment this season for Red Sox. For baseball in general. There's no Yankees, there's no Red Sox, there's no Phillies in the postseason.
Right.
You got to do something. Pujols, after breaking his wrist and stuff like that, I feel like there's got to be someone chirping in his ear like, hey, you can go to a big market, you can drop bombs at Fenway, go somewhere that's friendly for for batters and just drop bombs somewhere where, you can have another 6 years where you're not going to be killing yourself running around and you know what I mean? Like possibly straining something or something like that.
I don't know. He seems like that type of guy. He's played third. He's played first.
Yeah.
He actually played left field.
And you could tell he enjoys playing the field, but him with the green monster would
be beautiful, yeah. He'd actually put a couple through the monster.
Right.
I mean, look what with Adrian Gonzalez. When Adrian Gonzalez came over here, I mean, he just was crushing the ball. I mean, it's...
Yeah, for about 3.5 months.
Well, that's what he's talking about.
John, hey, thanks for the call, and it's a good theory, actually. But St. Louis is a good baseball town and a good market.
Yeah, they are.
It's not like, you're in San Diego. So, no offense, San Diego, but I'm just saying.
San Diego's great if you're into rollerblading.
That's right.
Like I am.
Yeah, so let's go to Alan in Ireland. Alan, you're on with Nick and Artie.
Hello?
Yeah, you're on, Alan. Go ahead.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Sorry, I'm on a bad connection, so I'll be quick. I just want to thank you for last week for the Jets-Patriots over cover. They were 47 and they got 51, so I got to thank you on that bet.
Wonder what you did with that money.
Yeah. But I just, like I said, I listened to every show since you started, even the test show, so I really love the show, guys, and I really hope you keep it up. So just really, really well done with that. And Nick, keep those zingers going, man. They're brilliant. And
you got it out.
I'm a big fan for years on Sirius, man. Listened to Sirius since you came over, and God, I love you, man. So I'm glad to hear you're getting better.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks a lot, man. We're big in Dublin, apparently.
Absolutely. Either that or that was Colin Quinn who went back on the sauce. See that? Ireland. And that call sounded better than Stephen A. Smith's. As far as the, I'm talking about reception, whatever. We were losing Stephen at the end.
That guy sounds like part of Red Sox Nation.
Yeah, this is what I don't like. You're another comic who knows how to use the callback. Artie, your favorite team is the Dolphins because you like the color of the uniforms you said earlier. You're a big girl.
No, my favorite team is not the Dolphins. My favorite team is the Giants.
Oh, it was your favorite amphibian.
Yeah.
Whatever they are. What is it, Steve? What's a dolphin? Amphibian?
My favorite thing that gets killed in tuna nets is a dolphin.
A lot of fat chicks, too.
Yeah, but... the Jets are playing the Dolphins this week.
Yeah,
and
it's a nail biter, huh?
It reminded me of a funny story about a Jet-Dolphin game. About 10 years ago, the ESPN Zone in New York City used to air the post-game and the pregame show of Monday Night Football live, and they do it in front of fans.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the Jet-Dolphin Monday Night Football game.
Mm-hmm.
And before the game... There's about 200 Jet fans, all wearing Jet jerseys, who all just look like criminals from Queens, sitting there getting drunk. And Chris Berman, 2 minutes before Monday Football's about to air, comes out just to say hi to the crowd.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, we're going to start the telecast, but I know you guys are big football fans, and I'd be willing, try to be a nice guy, I'd be willing to answer any football question that you might have.
Oh,
and
God.
he was wearing a pink tie. So he goes, anybody have any football questions before we go on? I'll be, he's trying to be a nice guy to the crowd. So this drunk Jet fan raises his hand. He might have been wearing like an Emerson Boozer jersey or something. He raises his hand, and Berman goes, yes, sir, what would you like to know? The kid goes, where'd you get that gay tie? That's what the kid says to him. And Berman goes, all right, okay, buddy. So everybody starts laughing and, going nuts. And he goes, all right, fine, whatever. Anybody else have any other questions? A guy at the same table wearing another Jets jersey raises his hand. And for some reason, Chris Berman picks him.
Yeah.
And he goes, what's your question? And the guy goes, where'd you get that gay tie? And Chris Berman just goes immediately, all right, let's wrap up. Thank you for the questions.
We gotta wrap it up with the Raiders.
Let's get to the show. And then the Jets played the Dolphins, and I think they scrapped doing it because it's all these drunken fans.
Yeah, good idea by the producer.
Live television.
All he had to say was, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, stupid. See? And that Berman loves his own voice. You ever hear him? He loves to talk till he gets like this.
Yeah.
He'll start off sounding like this, but Applebee's, they're 2 for $1. The chicken fingers are delicious. Aren't they, Palmer?
But I just love that he went to another question at the same table thinking it might be different. And
the guys are all dressed alike. They all look alike.
And I just like
Jets Nation.
He's just trying to be a nice guy. Like, do you have any football questions? This guy's been drinking, Heineken for 4 hours. Where'd you get that gay tie? And I personally am upset that Berman didn't answer him. I was curious where he got it because I wanted one myself.
That's what the comics wore in like the 80s. It was always a hot pink tie with a black suit. That's a good look.
Right, yeah. With your sleeves rolled up to your elbow.
Yeah, I still do that. I catch myself doing that.
You look great doing it.
What's wrong with a pink tie? Colin wore a pink tie recently.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm saying these.
You sound like you got something against pink ties.
No, I'm just saying these Jet fans just had a question and he refused to answer it.
You can't even say that now. You get in trouble. Where'd you get the gay tie? That you get in trouble for that.
Well, gay can mean just a happy tie.
Yeah, not anymore. It's Nick and Artie. We'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
Now back to two guys who love Italian food so much. As little leaguers, they rub their gloves with olive oil.
Yeah, thank you.
I used extra virgin olive oil.
You used it 2 breaks in a row, you notice? What about your rotator? Oh, it's our rotator stuck. We're having technical difficulties in Alan. My wife's rotator was stuck once. Had to call Rooter. Welcome back to the show, folks. 800-546-7663.
I could listen to Hank Williams talk all day. I happen to love that accent.
I do, too. You saw how I voted. You'd think I'd have that same accent.
They are the enemy.
Hey, Artie, you ever pee yourself?
You mean today?
Yeah.
Not
yet.
You're
having bladder problems.
No, actually, no, I never have, no.
Just reading in the paper, some Cardinals play-by-play broadcaster might have pee-peed himself during his DWI arrest.
Oh, my God.
The cop said, I noticed his pants were saturated both front and back in the crotch area. I asked about it, and he said it was sweat. It was sweat.
Well, I've actually been in that situation with a DWI arrest before, and it's a horrible thing, and it is nerve-wracking, though, when the cop asks you, like, the alphabet, because you know the alphabet, but you can't say it, and I have come close to peeing myself, but I never actually did it. This guy sounds like a wuss.
Yeah, he also did the, hey, do you know who I am to the cop? And he even offered the cop money to forget about the whole thing.
Oh, wow. I've never gone that far.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, in my situation, the cops knew who I was, but that hurt me. that hurt me.
I was at a fraternity party once, and I was so hammered, I went outside, and I was peeing with this kid, Dan Maloney, next to me. And I went to, pass wind.
Right.
And I drew mud.
Yeah. And you and Dan Maloney standing next to each other?
Yeah. And I went back into the party.
Really? I
went back into the party and danced with one girl and then ran home to the dorm and showered and changed and came back.
You danced first?
I danced one
before
dance.
Before you cleaned up?
With a little bit of, yeah.
That's the most impressive thing I've ever heard. I mean, how hot was the chick? Or how good was the song? Was it Upside Down by Diana Ross? What was the song? What was number one back then?
She was from Lewiston. She wasn't that, you know?
Yeah.
She had forearms like Mark McGuire. That's all I remember. But
I mean, for me to go back there with that in my pants, it'd have to be, dancing, with Minka Kelly or something.
Yeah, it was no Minka Kelly.
Yeah, that's
impressive. More like Robert Kelly, this girl.
Right.
The comedian front. 800-546-7663. So, broadcasters are known for that. Don Earl was a Bruins when I was a kid growing up. He was a heavy. During the game, you could actually notice it. I'm like 6 years old. I could tell he was starting to slur. And he got fired for saying a Bruins took a slap shot, and he goes, he hit the effing post.
Yeah.
And he was gone the next night.
Well, the famous one is Harry Carey, who, always seemed like he'd have a couple. And he's the guy who he would say, talk about politically incorrect, like slightly things that you'd think would be slightly racist now on the air. But back then it wasn't like he would say stuff like, if Mark Grace hits 300, I'm a Chinaman. And, anyone who says Chinaman after 1930, it sounds a little.
Why can't we laugh at that still?
Well, we are laughing at it.
No. Why is that? I mean, even Chinamen would laugh at that, I had a funny joke.
I had a guy, a restaurant owner, told me a story once that Harry Carey used to come into his restaurant during spring training in Phoenix, and he would get so sauced that they would play a trick on him. They would pay a waitress to get topless, like completely, like breasts hanging out and everything, and just serve them. And everyone else would pretend that she wasn't topless because they wanted Harry Carey to think he was like hallucinating or something.
Right.
So he would say stuff like, Harry Carey would go, hey, that woman she's got, her breasts are hanging out. Does anyone, and they would go, Harry, how drunk are you? No, she's got a shirt. He goes, no, does anyone see this? No one else sees that this woman is topless? I've got to go to the hospital. St. Louis, not a fun town to get pulled over if you're an announcer. Do you know who I am?
That's what he said.
Like he's Sinatra.
I'll tell you. Well, it mentions his name, so I can mention it. Dan McLaughlin. He works for Fox Sports Midwest.
Yeah.
The famous FSM franchise, and he was in Chesterfield, a suburb of St. Louis.
Yeah.
They suspended him from work.
Well, I mean, they should. I mean, that's horrible.
Drinking, and again, I've said this before on the air, and I'm not condoning it, drinking and driving. But
well, I hope not.
I'm just saying, but it's not half as dangerous as they make it out to be. I'll say that. I can back it up with math.
Go ahead, back it up.
Well, you look it up on the statistics. Like 40 to 50 million people on a weekend drive drunk.
Right.
And you know how many die because of a drunk driver? 4. Big deal. Big deal. What are the odds? 50 million into 4. Come on.
I saw a report once where blind people are allowed to ski. I think I saw this on 60 Minutes, and they just put on a sign that says blind skier, and they treat that like it's great.
Yes.
Like, to me,
that's what
if you let if your friend's blind and you let him ski, it's just as mean as letting them drive drunk.
Exactly.
But they applaud blind skiers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they get sharp poles.
Right. I skied once, and I broke my ankle. And I drove drunk conservatively, 800 times. Nothing ever happened.
That's what I'm saying. It's at Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. The minute they get involved, it's a crisis.
Well, I think that's a good organization.
It's all right.
It is.
It's all right. No, it's all right.
You're arguing against Mothers Against. I've never heard this argument before.
Again, once the women get involved, it becomes a crisis, and just like cyberbullying's an epidemic, it really isn't. It's over-exaggerated. If you listen to Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, they'd have you believe every time you pull out of your driveway on a Saturday night, Charlie Sheen, Nick Nolte, and Lindsay Lohan are coming up the street in a minivan with a quarter wild turkey and an 8-ball.
I'll tell you what.
That's what they'd have you believe. And you know what? How many times you drink and drive on the highway late at night, you by yourself? It's like a video game. Stuff is just flying by you.
I don't know if that's true or not, but that's a minivan I'd love to be in.
It's the Nick and Artie Show,
Nick Nolte, Charlie Sheen, and Lindsay Lohan.
We got Mark Kriegel coming up and a lot more. Stay with us, huh?
Jets fans will find it easy to identify with their new star, Plaxico Burress. They've been wanting to shoot themselves for years. The Nick and Artie Show. Now back to two guys who think being gunned down at the plate is something that happened to Sergeant McCluskey in The Godfather.
Welcome back.
Nice Godfather reference in the bumper.
It was a beauty, wasn't it?
I'm going to speak Italian to Mike.
My favorite it's the one line I don't understand in that whole trilogy.
What?
Is McCluskey going, how's the Italian food in this place? As opposed to what? The Chinese? You're at Louis in the Bronx.
Yeah, well,
Try the grilled cheese, McCluskey. What the hell's he thinking about?
I love when Salazzo goes, try the veal, it's the best in the city. He goes, I'll have it. And Salazzo's got to look at the waiter and go, "Acavit." Understand? Like the waiter doesn't understand. He's been in America for 2 hours. The guy goes, "I'll have it." You know what? And that's some acting in that too. The way McCluskey dies.
Oh, boy.
With the shot in the throat.
How many times you watch that in super slow motion? Hey, I want to talk some college football. Artie, I know you're a big NFL fan, and
I didn't go to college after high school. I just went to drive.
Is that how it works?
Yeah.
You can't watch it because you didn't go to college.
Yeah, I didn't go to college, so I don't get into
news
that
for you.
rah-rah.
Most of those players you're watching, they don't go to college either.
Right, well.
They're like 45, and somebody takes their SATs. But let's go to a guy who does know a lot about college football. Len Robbins, are you there?
Yeah, I'm not going to get whacked on this show, am I?
Not unless, you do something to Santino at the Causeway.
I'm getting whacked.
Let's talk about, I'd like to start with finally that kid Garcia, the quarterback of South Carolina, finally gets booted. How come Spurrier gave him 19 chances? Can I ask you that? And what did he do to get booted?
He allegedly he tested positive for marijuana and alcohol, which actually is pretty good for him because, he tested positive for alcohol. I think it was 5 times before. The thing I really love about this kid is, do you know what he was majoring in or like his class load was this semester?
I'm going to go with...
3 online classes, Navy SEAL warfare because he thought it would be cool, and archery. Now, I submit that South Carolina might be the Harvard of the SEC.
Yeah. Hey, archery's a tough course. I took that back in junior high.
Especially if it's online.
I know he's taking classes online. Like, who's monitoring that? It's like, how do you take archery online?
It's a video game.
Very carefully, I would think.
What are you doing? I mean, he's doing that. Is he on campus taking classes online?
Yeah, he was. He was.
That is priceless.
That is one of the great things, though, about college football, especially in the SEC. You basically have to be like a 3-time felon at some programs before you can't play anymore.
Oh, that's
There's
true.
no such thing as the Rockefeller law.
I'll tell you, Len. I played ball at the University of Maine back in the mid '80s.
All right, we get it. We get it.
Yeah, I'm saying that to brag because it was a football factory. I mean, some of the guys on that team, our linemen. One guy was arrested over 40 times, and when he graduated, he had an outstanding warrant. The state troopers from Maine were at the New Hampshire border waiting for him the day he graduated.
Oh, listen, if you're good, you play, man.
That's exactly right.
And let me guess, he's now a partner at a white shoe law firm, pulling in more than 3 of us together.
Actually, he's got. I won't even get into it, but he liked his booze and his steroids, and so he's in rough shape.
We can hang.
Exactly.
Booze and steroids leads to that. That's a nice liver when you're about 51.
Oh my goodness. How about? Have you ever met Steve Spurrier in person?
Yeah, a couple of times. In fact, I flew down there this year because we had the cojones to pick them as our preseason number 1. So I got to spend a few minutes with both Steve and Garcia, and I asked him why should South Carolina fans trust him, and he said because they have no choice. So I think that really endeared him to whatever fan he had left down there after the 5 previous suspensions. And, here's the great thing about Steve. We need more guys like Spurrier in college football. Remember when he was at Florida and he's calling Florida State Free Shoes University and he's saying that the Citrus Bowl is the winter home of Tennessee. Like, that's great. All these college coaches today, if you said to them, hey, I'm picking you number one, they go into sandbag mode, right? We got a long way to go. We so many things we have to improve on. Spurs like, yeah, we're the sexy pick. Pick us number one. He's great.
Right.
He's great.
But, yeah, people, I guess, they either love him or hate the guy, but he's got to win this year. How long's he been there, first of all?
No, he's got it going down there. He's as safe as a coach could be. When he first got down there, do you know how many championships South Carolina had won in football? They won one ACC title back in like 1960-something, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say zero. I never even...
I didn't know they had won one either.
Yeah.
Most people say, I didn't know they were in the ACC.
Right. I mean, and if you look at it, like it's sort of a no-pressure job, It's like, how can you get worse?
No, that's the other thing. You bring up, the conferences, and they're getting all busted up. I'm trying to follow them, and TCU's leaving the Mountain West, and now you got, all in the name of money. So I'm never going to get to see Texas and Oklahoma play again. Is that how it works? What can you educate us on who's going where, what conferences, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of shaking out a little right now. Texas Christian was supposed to come to the Big East. Then they saw where the Big East was. So they went back to the Big 12 because they figured then they get to play Texas and Oklahoma and those guys. Missouri has tried to pimp itself out to any conference that would take it, but nobody's interested. So they're going to stay in the Big 12 for another year. The Big East right now is looking at teams from anywhere from Kamchatka, which I used to have in the game of Risk. Remember Risk? You guys play that?
Wait a minute. What's the name of that team?
Kamchatka. Part of this Russia, it's like where Alaska and Russia once connected.
Right.
Or got global warming or something. I don't know.
They ran a wing team.
Right now. The conference that's in trouble right now is the Big East. The Big East has to find 6 football members. John Marinado is scouring the country right now, talking to people like Boise State and East Carolina and Navy and Air Force and Stony Brook maybe. I don't know.
Are they gonna? Please tell me they're not going to keep calling it the Big East when Boise State's in it, and they're going to have to rename all these.
Boise's, I think, in eastern Idaho.
There is no better. I'll say there's no better coached team in college football than Boise State.
Well, you can make a strong case for Chris Peterson. I mean, all people talk about is who they played. Let's just say this. It doesn't matter who you play in a way. If you win and you win impressively every week, coaches always talk about that. My future's in the hands of an 18, 19, 20-year-old who's taking archery online. How can I get him to play well every week? He does it. Plus, every time they put a big-time opponent in front of him, Oklahoma, Georgia, Virginia Tech, win.
And they just don't win. They kicked the crap out of Georgia this year in Atlanta. They beat them up. That's right.
By the way, I'm just going to get this off my chest.
Okay.
If Kellen Moore doesn't win the Heisman Trophy this year, I think I'm going to take myself out of the voting. If Kellen Moore is the quarterback at any other college, right? If he's at Oklahoma, if he's at Stanford, if he's at Rutgers, right? People are saying, "Wow!" Based on what he did these first 3 years, he's the favorite going into this year. And people say, "Well, it's not what you did in the past." Well, that's a bunch of malarkey because we all know that you have to have like a stage, right? A starting point. And look at what he's done this year. The guy's thrown for like 120 touchdowns and like 20 interceptions.
That's no exaggeration. Those are his numbers over his career. I've never seen anybody.
I'm close. I might be off by
pretty close.
I mean,
you don't hold that against you. It's a Nick and Artie show. You don't hold that against you.
You know who my favorite Heisman Trophy winner is of all time?
Yeah, that would be Art Donovan.
No, actually, my favorite Heisman Trophy winner of all time has got to be Fred Goldman.
Really?
The guy who OJ had to give his Heisman to.
Wait, I was going to say, was he with Goldman Sachs? I'm lost here. Wait a second.
No.
Was he the guy who was paying the Miami players? I'm all confused here now.
Hey, Lenny Robbins. Hey, Lenny Robbins, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
As soon as they told me there was no lewd language, I knew it would be a short segment. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, Len Robbins, a New York Post, and guy knows everything about
it sounds like
college sports.
See, I don't like the rah-rah stuff, but I'll bet on it.
I can see why you wouldn't want to see an 18-year-old girl doing a flip in a skirt.
I want to talk about my alma mater, Union Community College, the only college that had lockers. I went to a college that had lockers.
It's the Nick and Artie Show, folks, and we got a lot more to get to. Stay with us, will you, please?
The Nick and Artie Show, the only conversation about sports between two Italian guys that doesn't involve a tapped phone. Now, back to two guys who are convinced the phrase caught in a pickle has something to do with the zipper on your pants. Welcome back to the Nick and Artie Show.
Hi, I'm Nick, and that's Artie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Artie.
Got a final in the Detroit-Texas game, by the way.
What was it, Artie?
I don't know. Detroit won 5-2, I believe.
5-2. Doug Fister, who's coming up big. Came up big against somebody a few nights ago.
You can't remember who?
Who was it?
I don't know. Maybe we should call the president of Red Sox Nation. Maybe he'll know. Compare him to Hitler.
Did I walk into that one? We got a lot of show left. We got the Booty Lounge, which is a bus in Detroit where you can have a few beers and watch girls strip in a bus.
That sounds like the Nick Nolte minivan.
It's the same stuff that goes on in Tripoli, for crying out loud.
Right.
What a horrible place. A mountain biker got clotheslined by a gazelle.
An antelope.
You see that clip?
It's actually an antelope.
Yeah, same thing.
It looks like Ronnie Lott hitting a receiver after taking a 50-yard dash.
Yeah, he'd get a flag for that. That would be called hitting a defenseless biker, you know?
A mountain biker.
Exactly. He deserved it. Of course, the guy had a helmet on like a chooch.
Who decided? What genius decided to combine mountains and biking? Like, here's a mountain. Let's bike on it.
Two 14-year-old kids were mixing Red Bull and cough medicine.
Yeah, and then you get hit by an antelope, and you're all of a sudden you're crying.
He's more famous than I am. This guy already.
Well,
we were talking about Spurrier, Steve Spurrier, the coach.
Yeah,
the old ball coach they call him. And a lot of people hate him because he's he can be prickly, and he doesn't get along with one of the reporters down there on campus. And so we have a clip of him dressing down this reporter.
I've actually heard this clip, and it's hilarious how he embarrasses this guy.
Well, let's listen in.
Let me say something before we get started here. This has been weighing on me on my chest, and I'm getting it off my chest right here today.
Sounds like Hank Williams.
As all of you know, we got a negative guy over here that tries to hurt our football program, which he's got a right to do that. The criticism he shows me is okay. I don't mind that. I just don't like stories that aren't true. And last spring, he wrote a story about me recruiting Bruce Ellington and luring him away from the basketball program and raiding and jilting Coach Horn. Completely fabricated story. And I took exception to that. And that's the only thing I ever take exception with sports writers, when they write stuff that isn't true. I didn't talk to Bruce Ellington until after he had met with Coach Horn, and he came over here. It's a completely untrue story. In 26 years as a head coach, I've had two guys that didn't write the truth that I had to disassociate with. He's one of them over here. Another one was a guy named Larry Guest, back in '94, I think it was. So in 26 years, I've had two guys. And then I've learned that since he sits in on all these meetings, it's basically I'm helping him to contribute writing negative stuff about our football program. Simple as that. So I'm not going to talk when he's in here. That's my right as a head coach. I don't have to talk to him, and I don't have to talk to him when he's in here.
Can you
so
pause
what we're going to do, all you TV guys.
Well, that's like a comic. I told you, Brett Butler.
Yeah.
Who was on stage, and this certain comedian walked in who has a reputation for stealing stuff. This was years ago.
Right.
She saw him and said, I ain't telling any more jokes until he leaves this room. And she had a southern accent just like him. But this comic, she wouldn't go on with her act until he left the room. And then the kid swore at her, called her a dirty name.
Right.
She went back at him, and he was crying in the lobby.
I got mad at an audience. I got mad at an audience once at the club in New York, and I wouldn't leave the stage till they left. So I just stayed on stage. Like the MC was trying to get the mic out of my hand, I wouldn't leave. I said, "You guys are leaving before me," and they awkwardly paid their checks and marched out. I just hated the crowd so much. But listen to what he's about to do to this guy.
Right. I'm going to do a personal interview with you in this other room. And the writers that are still left in here, I'll come back here and talk with you right after that. We'll do individual interviews with all you TV guys, okay? Everybody 4 days, all right? Yeah. And what room we got? Media room down there. Media room, okay? Yeah. Bring your cameras on down there and let's do some one-on-one, okay? Okay, Lynn?
So he's not
isolating that guy.
He's not making the guy leave the room. He's taking everyone else out of the room and telling the guy to stay there. And he's actually going to do individual interviews with everyone else so he doesn't have to talk to the guy. I mean,
that is the genius of Spurrier.
I mean, that sounds like, my high school guidance counselor talking to me and several other kids who had some issues.
Yeah.
But that's hilarious. Like most people would tell a guy to leave. Instead, he says, "No, I'm going to take the reporters in another room. You're staying here."
Yeah.
And what's he going to do?
And the reporter in question is Ron Morris, who's
Right.
a sports columnist for the State, who is often critical of Spurrier and the Gamecocks. We had up at Maine. We had a guy, a Bangor reporter.
Right.
Gives an idea where I was playing football.
Right.
But it was same thing. Our coach hated him because he always wrote negative stuff about our coach and about the program. So my coach got on the phone with him and said, you keep bad-mouthing our punt return team. You want to come out and catch punts? And the guy did.
Really?
He put on a uniform. He's probably my age now. I was in my 20s. This old guy came out. We punted balls to him, and he ran a couple plays, and we got to tackle him.
Really?
He's like 40 years old. We're drilling him.
That is a hell of a program.
But that was Ron Rogerson. He was like Sperry. He hated any kind of criticism. So,
well, most coaches don't.
Oh, yeah, they're brutal, Anyways, it's the Nick and Artie Show. We'll be back right after this.
And now, live from America's Man Cave.
It's a cool, realistic world.
It's the Nick and Artie Show.
Uh-oh. Look out. Here it goes.
I'd love to listen to this whole song. It'll wake you right the hell up. Welcome back, folks. Final hour of the Nick and Artie Show. On a is it Tuesday, Artie?
It is Tuesday, Nick.
I my sleep pattern. I come home.
Right.
We're talking about this. Is why I'm a miserable, and I apologize to everybody within a 2-mile radius of me.
Yeah.
I just I go home. I have 9 cups of coffee in me here. I go home. I'm watching Mad Men till 4:30 this morning.
Right.
And I keep waking up at like 10 or 9, and it's like having a baby in the house.
Right.
Since I started this job, and I could punch a nun in the face right now.
Well, like I say, I turned 44 today, and I can't imagine 44 more unhealthy years a human being could possibly live. I'm thinking back, and I think I'm paying for it now because I just don't get a good night's sleep. I wake up, and I'm like, I can hear myself snoring. It's almost like an out-of-body experience, and it's like I'm eating my face.
You said you slept till 11 the other day.
Yeah, but it wasn't a good sleep. It was an unhealthy rolling over.
With no broad next to you sleep?
Yeah, one of those, Well, the 2 hours were up, and I had paid for my,
And that's tough for you because you can't, not like you can, I get up and what I do, usually in a situation like that, I might rub one out and have a glass of wine and wake up in April of 2016. But even that doesn't work anymore.
All I could do is rub one out. The glass of wine I can't have anymore.
No, exactly.
I'm not allowed to do anything.
It's not fair to you.
It's the worst birthday I've ever had. This is the worst birthday I've ever had.
I didn't even bring you like a cake or something.
I mean, I don't care, but,
You can't even have like a rum cookie.
It would just be. I can't have anything that might be a trigger. Like my shrink said to me, "What's a trigger to you to maybe drink?" And I said, like, the sun coming up. just life. Like, I don't know, maybe just anything. Like I walk by a tanning salon and I get mad at people who go to tanning salons and I want to have a drink.
So, well, speaking of drinking, we talked about this a little bit earlier. The broadcasters love to hit the sauce.
Well, we talked about Harry Carey, who was one of them. Yeah, and we found an amazing clip. It sounds like
this is him on the air.
Yeah,
right?
this is him on the air, and it sounds like he's had a couple, and he just goes into a fit, apparently.
A couple pints.
Yeah.
Hey, we see Marlon Collins without shorts for the first time.
Without what?
Boy, I hope we get the end of that story. Slow roller, he might beat it out. Nope. Good play.
That's him laughing.
Give a score cue.
That's Harry Carey.
You recognize her anywhere.
Who are they talking about?
I don't know.
Who are they talking
He goes, Marlon Collins with a pair of shites like I've never seen. He's making up words and then laughing like a pair of shites. He's going, give a score cue.
Then he goes, there's a ground ball, good play.
It's like, he just gets into a drunken laughing fit on the air. And that drunk laugh sometimes where you're laughing so hard you start to cough. It looks like he's about to go into like he's going to throw up on Steve Stone. I think that was Steve Stone with him. I used to be on a show called Mad TV, and it was on Fox, right?
Remember it well, baby.
Yeah, so Fox Sports, I'm doing stand-up in Chicago, and Fox Sports got me into Wrigley Field, and they let me sit in the booth and listen to Harry Carey and Steve Stone do a couple of innings. And I swear to you, Harry Carey was sitting, Ryan Sandberg was up, all right?
Right.
And it's a long at bat, like a 10-minute at bat. He's fouling him back. It goes 3-2. And Steve Stone's doing all the work. Like, Harry Carey's sitting drunk with a red face 3 feet from the microphone like a wax figure, not doing anything. And Steve Stone is doing all the work, like, foul back, here's the pitch. That's a foul ball. Now the count's 3-2. And just... You see Harry Carey's about to say something, so he slowly starts falling towards the microphone. And this was his contribution to the whole thing. It's Ryan Sandberg up. And after Steve Stone does 10 minutes of play-by-play, Ryan Sandberg's about to hit the ball. And, like, at a crucial moment when he's about to hit the ball, and you want to hear what Steve Stone's got to say, Harry Carey falls into the mic and just goes, Rado! Which was Ryan Sandberg's nickname.
Yeah, Rhino.
With a big red face, he just went, Rado! And then Steve Stone has to recover and go, oh, it's a ground ball. And yeah, but that last clip, the laughing... And then they're talking about a girl, like... What's her name? What's her name? Who's her?
I don't know who they were talking about.
Try to get her attention.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, get a score cue. He's wearing shites I've never seen before.
I think that meant shorts.
Yeah. Oh, maybe he was talking about a ball girl.
Yeah, probably right.
Yeah,
exactly right. And
what's her name?
He's got those glasses on. He looks like he could weld.
He looks like he looks like
Mr. Magoo.
No, who was the comedian who always wore he looks kind of like Marty Feldman is what he looks like. But
Sam Rothstein at the end of Casino.
Yeah, that's what exactly.
He looks glasses on that you could
It looks like he just had cataract surgery.
Yeah, Joe Paterno, too. You could throw rocks at those, and they're like windshields.
I just had cataract surgery. What's her name? Who's that? Shites.
That's what we need. We need more personalities like that.
Well, there was a guy I used to talk about. He used to play, announce for the Giants on the radio, and I don't know if he drank or not, but he always made mistakes. This guy, Jim Gordon.
Yeah.
And I used to do him in my act. So if you had a bet on the game, you didn't know what was going on because he always made mistakes. Like on the radio, he said stuff like, Sims drops back looking for a receiver. He's going way deep, long, way down for Baker, baby. Touchdown, Giants! No, he dropped it.
That's what you want to hear when you get a dime on the game.
This is what, you got to bet on the game. He actually said this on the radio. He said, Giants have the ball, 4th and goal from the 1. Tillman, the lone setback. Handoff, Tillman, maybe. He's in. Wait, no, I can't see it. Now a word from Toyota. He threw it to commercial. He said on the radio, maybe.
The good old days.
Maybe.
There was a guy in Boston, a hockey coach,
right.
and he's still on like Hockey Night in Canada, Don Cherry.
Oh, yeah.
Who doesn't need booze. He's
best.
Just out of his mind.
Right.
Just all for fighting. When he was the head coach of the Bruins, they had the most vicious players.
Yeah.
And he just absolutely loved it. And I loved him for it. And he hates the way the world's going. We got a clip of him right now.
You'll never see it again. You'll never see it again, and it's ridiculous what they've done. The players will not hit. Guaranteed.
God bless them all. Our sadness this summer was unparalleled for obviously what happened overseas in the Russian plane crash and Brad McCurry, who we loved. But your brethren, Don, obviously it started with Derek Bugard, Rick Rippon, and Wade Belak. The feeling was that in all 3 cases there's a connection that they were dealing with demons caused by their...
Is that ridiculous? I'll tell you one thing there. You people that are against fighting, you should be ashamed of yourself. You took advantage of that to make your point on fighting. You should be ashamed of yourself doing something like that. I did a little research. Since 1999, there's been 8 guys commit suicide, and not one of them was a fighter. And when I played, I remember 4 guys committing suicide. Not one of them was a fighter. But you jumped on this with both feet. You should have been ashamed of yourself. But the ones that I am really disgusted with, and I hate to say this when the kids are listening, what George LaRocque said about a bunch of pukes that fought before Stu Grimson, Chris Nyland, and Jim Thompson, the reason that they're drinking drugs and alcoholics because they fight. You turncoats, you hypocrites. There's one thing I'm not, is a hypocrite. You guys, you were fighters, and now you don't want guys that make the same living you did.
Don Cherry in the Coach's Corner on Hockey Night in Canada.
Way to wrap that up.
Coach's Corner on CBC.
Way to wrap that up. Don Cherry, Coach's Corner.
But he's actually wrong because a couple guys recently that were found dead.
Yeah.
One was a guy named Hoyta for the Flyers.
How dare you? These guys weren't fighters.
They found him in a hotel room dead, and he was a brawler. And then Bob Probert, who didn't commit suicide, but he was another tough nut. But there was a couple in the last few years who were really tough guys. And I don't know what he's talking about. He's almost, in my opinion, he's lying through his teeth. But this is why I loved him. When he was head coach of the Bruins back in the 70s, he brought up a guy named John Wensink. And we're like, why did he bring this guy? So I start reading about Wensink in the paper. You know what he was known for? In junior hockey, he bit a guy's ear off in a fight. And about a month later, Cherry brings him up. And we had the Bruins had a guy, Stan Jonathan, who was a Cherokee Indian, 5'8", about 210 pounds with a barrel chest.
Right.
And never, I saw him lose one fight to Tiger Williams.
Yeah.
And he retaliated later on in the game and beat Tiger. But he had the meanest. It's when the Flyers were the Broad Street Bullets.
Oh, yeah, those were the best.
Don Cherry insisted that the Bruins have just as many goons as the Flyers.
Yeah, well, he was right.
I miss that. I just miss that. Like Harry Carey being drunk in the booth. This guy calling guys out who don't like fighting.
The giant guy making mistakes. When you got to bet on the game.
That's the stuff, again. And you don't see any pink ribbons in hockey anyways.
Maggot takes the ball at his own 32. He breaks a tackle. He's across midfield, 45-40, 35-30. He's got 1 minute to beat the kicker. He's by the kicker. He'll score! No, he stepped out at the 5.
It's the Nick and Artie Show. We're going to take some phone calls and talk about Paul McCartney getting married. That's Artie's choice, not mine.
Paul McCartney. Who's he?
800-546-7663.
Don't miss the next episode of the Nick and Artie Show when their guest is the guy who shot Plaxico Burress. No, wait a minute. That is Plaxico Burress. It'll be somebody else. Now, back to two guys who have not yet been mathematically eliminated. But it's early. It's Nick DiPaolo and Artie Lang. The Nick and Artie Show.
It's very early.
It's very early. Oh, God, it's early April.
It's early April. I don't even know. I swear.
Hey, you know who I'm in the mood for? Because we had him on last week, and he was a huge hit. Even the callers were saying, you got to get him back.
Really?
Yeah, the legend, your old friend.
A guy I used to read a lot of his stuff,
in
yeah.
the New York
Post and the Daily News.
And now he writes for Fox Sports. Mark Kriegel, what's going on?
What's going on?
Hello, Mark. What's happening,
It's
Mark?
late. It's late, man.
It's late. Oh, sorry.
How do you guys stay up like sober?
It rhymes with Rogaine. No, we don't do any of that anymore.
Artie
No,
doesn't do that
say
anymore.
that.
We're
Don't
just
say
in.
that.
Yeah, we don't. I can do it. Artie can't do it. But, hey, Mark.
Artie banned for life.
Artie, Mark, what did you make your daughter anything? Last time we talked, you made her broccoli rabe and some nice ravioli.
We did. All she eats is broccoli. It's like she's a broccoli crackhead. We had steak tonight. Tomorrow we had steak. We had steak with the bone-in, New York bone-in. We had the broccoli. And we had those little BS potatoes, little potatoes. We didn't even have those. What kind of potatoes did you have when you were a kid, right? The Idaho. You either had the Idaho or you had the Oro.
Right.
Yeah, that's where they come from. Yeah.
I crisp them up. I put the rock salt on them.
Oh, nice.
So if you had to describe your daughter, Mark, you'd say broccoli crackhead?
She's a broccoli. I love her. So what do you want? Let's have another vegetable. No, broccoli. Broccolini.
Oh, broccolini.
Yeah. How old is she?
Broccolini. She's 11, but she's under the mistaken notion that she's 19. But she thinks she really, she this is the greatest kid in the world, but she thinks she's going to bring Justin Bieber home to marry.
Right. So do I.
Not if she's eating broccoli.
I will break his leg.
Let me tell you something,
Break
Kriegel.
his hair.
Let me tell you something, Kriegel. I would pay to watch you kick Justin Bieber's ass.
She did. You guys have daughters?
No.
We don't even know. No.
A couple years ago.
I have half a Filipino daughter who lives in Las Vegas. I don't talk to her, though. It's a legal issue.
That's no good. No. But a couple years ago, she went to the High School Musical. I'll probably like ruining your demographic here. The kid Zac Efron. She goes, "Daddy, Zac Efron's better than you in basketball." I said, "I swear he's not better than me in basketball. I'd be crippled, this, that. I will break his kneecaps. He's not better than me in basketball."
What a relationship!
Yeah, I'm used to a fair amount of ignominy in my life, but that I'm not going to take.
Speaking of bad knees,
thanks for being the first person in the history of the Nick and Artie Show to say Zac Efron, Kriegel.
I know, but it's probably the first legitimate father here too.
Well, yes, exactly. Hey, Mark, what do you think the Tebow situation? Is this overdue? Is it the right time? How's he going to do?
Is he going to do? Here's my question: is he going to do worse? They'll sell a lot of T-shirts, and they'll have at least they'll have something interesting to talk about for the remainder of the season. You remember Joe Pesci talking to De Niro? Like, if you win, you win. If you lose, you still win. What do they have to lose?
There's no way you can lose.
I don't know the game.
Right, I mean, I mean, he's an interesting player. It's Kyle, Look at Kyle Orton. Look at that kid. Like, I get sad watching him. He takes off the helmet. I get sad. Right? You know, I get depressed. I do. I mean, but like Tebow, he's my favorite religious guy ever. I really mean that. I want to be religious when I see him. I want to go like save people.
That's what I was.
I do.
Mark,
I'm really serious about that.
I know you are,
You don't
Mark.
force it down your throat. What? I'm sorry.
I was telling Artie, like, when he was at Florida during the summer, he'd go overseas with not the USO. What's the Peace Corps? And he was over
He was in the Philippines. He was like saving people.
That's right. He was circumcising babies. That's right.
He was circumcising babies?
Yes, he was.
In the Philippines?
Yes.
I don't know. He would know, really?
I saw it, absolutely. I saw it on ESPN.
You saw
it? To do that?
That's a lot of stones.
Wait a minute. Was that him or was that a porn I was watching?
Yeah, I don't think...
No. Really? He was circumcising babies?
He was helping circumcising kids in a third world, third world country. And I'm not kidding you.
He's a loyal?
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's always good to have a football player as a moil.
I didn't even know the kid had a bar mitzvah.
He was he was holding the kid. I don't think he was doing the actual cutting.
Here's your
holding.
He had the kid. He had the
different thing than actually, you know. Hey,
well, he had the kid in a headlock.
Can I get off the subject for a second? Like we're not off already. So
yeah, go ahead.
I'm driving around last week, and you guys did. It was the day Madonna was chosen. Remember, Madonna was chosen for the Super Bowl. See, those guys don't even remember. You did
yes, I do.
Artie was great on Madonna.
Do you remember Artie?
Don't you?
I think you were listening to a different show.
Like America's indigenous folk music. Madonna.
I think you saw that on the sitcom Mike and Molly.
No, I remember seeing her like 1983 in one of the clubs. Like it was a lounge, one of those ones.
Right.
You know, I want to swallow in the back of my throat when I just think about it. You know.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Right. It was 1983. Everything was legal. You know, she was so hot. She doesn't get her due. You know, since she became a kind of like pointy and angular.
Yeah.
She was.
Yeah.
You know, I'm still mourning over her and A-Rod.
Are you really?
Yes. You don't think that was like her? That was the match made in heaven. That was like she saw A-Rod. That was like her perfect guy. That's like he was like the pool boy at the Delano.
That's right. No,
you know, that was like, oh, that's my guy. He's invincibly, you know, narcissistic and stupid. They were perfect.
Narcissistic and stupid.
He might have been here. He might have hit 300 this year if they didn't break up.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm glad to see that you're really up on the current sports stories, the Madonna A-Rod romance, Mark. And by the way,
I got the
DiMaggio broke up with Marilyn Monroe, by the way.
And by the way, Mark, I don't know if in 1983 everything wasn't legal.
But it felt like it, though.
Yeah, it did, actually.
It felt like it, right?
Yeah,
hanging out at the limelight, absolutely.
Right.
Madonna and
you can look it up. I don't think the limelight was open in '83. I will bet
yes, it was.
The one it was not. I don't think so.
No, it was the other. It was the other place. What's
the Palladium?
No, the one that
Danceteria
was on 14th Street.
How about Studio 54? Was that still open?
No, that was like late 70s.
That was done.
It stayed open, didn't it?
Studio 54 was like a BS place by then.
Yeah, let's talk more about gay clubs.
Wait, who's outdated here?
I'm sorry, I'm not up on where Madonna hung out in the early '80s. This is the best sports interview of all time.
It's great. We could have got this from Mario Lopez on TMZ.
What? So honestly, on a serious note, who's watching your daughter right now, Mark?
She's right here. She's right here in the living room.
Oh, okay.
She's peeling broccoli.
Oh, she's got school tomorrow.
She's on the couch peeling broccoli.
No, she's watching. She's watching Top Chef. That's like the thing, Top Chef, one of the food channel.
Yeah, a lot of.
I told her we didn't have a food channel when I was a kid.
You didn't have television.
We didn't have food.
2, 4, 7, and 11 with Captain Kangaroo. Don't you remember
Mark,
that?
so yeah. Listen, give us your pick of the week. You got a pick of the week in the NFL or what?
No, just don't take the Jets. I think they're done. I don't.
You really think it's over?
I think it's over. I actually think the guy's hubris got to him. You saw they traded Mason today.
Yeah.
They traded him?
And I don't.
How they treated him?
It's that they traded Mason. It's just that he said, "Oh, we had no beef, and the guy's gone." And I think that for the first time, there are cracks. Oh. There are cracks in this team, and to me, they don't have the running game. They don't have the running game. I think we talked about it last week. Of the 13 games, 9 of them went to the team that won, that had more rushing yards. It's real simple. I mean, the game hasn't changed that much, and
they can't stop the run.
They don't have a good enough quarterback that they can win with, like, LaDainian Tomlinson running into the flat, waving his arms.
No, you're right.
I don't think that they, the peculiar thing is that is the Patriots winning without their defense, and I think they'll get better because they are really well coached.
And they're 6th in the league in rushing the Pats. You know that? Nobody talks about it.
Yeah, well, I'm saying their only question about them is the defense.
You have.
No,
okay.
I've been talking about.
I haven't read.
I
haven't read you since you left the Post.
It's okay. That's like 1983, pal.
Well, that was when Madonna was big.
Is there video of you with Madonna in 1983 at the Palladium, like doing blow with Jelly Bean Benitez?
It wasn't the Palladium. It was one of those joints. It was like 5th Avenue and 13th Street. It was like Peppermint Lounge or Electric Circus.
Oh, I remember that place.
Yeah, now it's a TGI Fridays.
So,
no, it had like a Chinese name. It had like 5th and 13th had like a Chinese name.
Yeah.
The club.
No. You don't. No.
Well, that's true.
Artie was 12 and he was high. Hey, Mark Krieger, we got to wrap it up here.
Mr. Fuji's 5th and 13th.
We appreciate you. You're our favorite go-to guy. He's on the West Coast, right?
Yeah, and he thinks it's late.
I know. Mark Kriegel, it's Nick and Artie. You got a few more things to get to. Paul McCartney's wedding, apparently Artie wants to talk about. I think I'd rather talk about Madonna.
How dare you attack me for bringing up Paul McCartney? A Beatle is getting married again. I think that's a big story.
If it was Lennon, it would be a big story.
A Beatle's getting married!
Oh, for God's sake. It's Nick and Artie. Stay tuned.
This past year, one guy's been on Showtime. The other guy's been on probation. It's Nick DiPaolo and Artie Lang, The Nick and Artie Show. Now back to two guys who've done for Sports Talk Radio what Steve Bartman did for the Cubs.
Welcome back to the Nick and Artie Show, folks.
How great is Kriegel?
Kriegel is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
I got a feeling his phone is right next to the liquor cabinet.
I mean, Jesus. He's talking about Idaho potatoes. He's talking about a show that he thinks were me and you, and it clearly wasn't.
Yeah, he thought he was listening.
We never talked about Madonna on the show.
Never.
And we somehow got into a conversation. It was a sports interview. We somehow got into a conversation about Madonna's career and club she started at in the early 80s. And I'm telling you, 5th and 13th, there was a joint called Mr. Fuji's. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I remember
Look it up.
Mr. Fuji's.
Yeah, look
Yeah,
it up.
you're right.
We used to go to Washington Square Park, me and my buddies, and when moshing first started.
Yeah.
And we would, like, overpay for, like, awful weed, like a bag of oregano we'd get for, like, $30, and then mosh through the park and and have a middle slice with mozzarella dripping down our arms from Ben's Pizza.
Let's go to Sal in Bayside wants to talk about the best announcer of the 70s. Hey, Sal, what's going on?
Hey, you guys, what about Lindsey Nelson? I grew up in Bayside, Queens, so I'm, I'm partial to him with his horrific jackets.
And they do the Notre Dame games, right?
Right. No, Lindsey Nelson was a college football guy and a Mets announcer.
Yes.
When the Mets had the Mets team was Ralph Kiner, Lindsey Nelson, and Bob Murphy.
Ralph Kiner. Even before he had the stroke, I mean, no offense, the guy always sounded loaded, you know?
Yeah, well, I think Ralph Kiner's the guy, though, back in his day, he slept with Rita Hayworth.
Oh, really?
That's Ralph Kiner, I think, slept with Rita Hayworth
when
he was a major league player.
Light now, you know?
Yeah, that's when he hit 400 home runs for the Mets.
My favorite.
It's painful when they have him in the booth.
Yeah,
it's painful for me.
I have a quick question before I go.
Yeah,
Rick, who's your favorite announcer?
I don't know, Tommy.
No, it's Sal.
I don't know, Tom.
Lindsey Nelson.
I'm going to go with Fred Cusick, who just passed away.
Get us all those guineas.
Thank you for the call.
I love you,
That's
man.
A sign. I love you too, babe. See, when a guy zings me like that, get him off the goddamn phone. Whoops.
My favorite was a guy named Bob Murphy.
Rick.
Bob Murphy.
He still makes
you gotta.
He does that so beautiful.
You gotta admit that's funny.
Oh, I love it. Go ahead.
Lindsey Nelson was
part of my life, by the way. Sorry.
Part of a team with Bob Murphy, and Bob Murphy was a guy who, he would talk like an old guy. Like you'd say, "Boy, Bob, Ron Gardenhire goes back well on a pop up," and he'd go, "Doesn't he though? Doesn't he though?"
I just remember Lindsey Nelson they would replay the Notre Dame game on Sunday morning, you know.
And
First and 10, the Irish, almost like Vince Scully with it.
Yeah, well, there was nothing better than Keith Jackson with college football. This tussle in the desert might get a wee bit capacious before the night's over.
Oh,
yeah,
best.
Yeah.
How do you sum up a rivalry between Michigan and Ohio State? Well, it's about not liking somebody since 1939.
He's a 6'5" senior out of Pusquehanna, Texas, 238 pounds. He's got no handles on him.
And when Colorado would play Tennessee and they'd run on the field, that big mascot, 6,000 pounds, a Colorado bison, enough to make any volunteer run for his musket. Guy was a poet, man. My first voiceover in L.A. audition, I told you. I'm going for my first voiceover. Who's coming out? I'm in the waiting room. Who was in before me? Keith Jackson.
I was going to say Jeff Ross. Yeah. Keith Jackson?
Keith Jackson.
Oh, that is beautiful.
And I just went, I don't feel good. I'll do this tomorrow.
Yeah.
I quit. Keith Jackson. Unbelievable.
Google him and listen to some of his clips. But if you thought Lindsey Nelson's jackets were bad,
how about Paul McCartney's jackets?
What makes the thing about the Don Cherry clip so funny is you got to see the video.
How the way he's dressed?
He's wearing
the collar.
Yeah, like a magenta, light blue sport jacket.
No, it's his dress shirts.
Yeah.
Those collars that were popular for like 5 minutes in 1986.
Right.
Like the 6-inch collars on a dress shirt with a metal pin that goes through it. It's like a barbell.
Yeah.
It looks like he's waiting to be assassinated. It's like a neck brace. He looks like Mary Jo Kopechne. How's that?
Great reference. I love it. That's the one who Ted Kennedy drowned. Tried to save.
Right. Artie, what about Paul McCartney getting married? I read that. I got to admit, I read the article and
it just sticks in my craw because Paul McCartney. I mean, how much of the Hey Jude money does he want to give away to these broads? You know, it just seems like they see him coming. You know, it's like he's got to deal with Yoko Ono over the rights to the Beatles music, which is just horrendous. That's worse. But then he keeps marrying these women who, you know, he wrote all these brilliant songs and they're rich off it, and it just aggravates the hell out of him.
This one's a step up, though. You got to give him credit on this. She's got 2 legs. I mean, he's getting fussy in his old age. Now he needs all the limbs?
Right, really. I mean, I don't know. It just makes me mad that he's giving away all that music money.
Keep talking. I'm looking at a note.
Right. Well,
this is actually important, actually. If you guys missed our interview with Hank Williams Jr., it's now up on nickandarty.com. And by the way, that was the first one he did, like, on radio.
Really?
Yeah, we had the scoop there. Again, like you said, it was on 9 different mediums. But it is now up on nickandarty.com if you want to hear that interview, folks. And we're gonna.
I mean, it was a good interview, and it ends with an angry redneck hanging up on us. To me, I mean, that's beautiful.
That's how it should work on the show. Hey, it's Nick and Artie coming up in the last segment of the night, so stick around, folks, for more fun.
Two guys who think steroids should only be allowed to be used on teams they've bet on. This is the Nick and Artie Show. Back to Nick and Artie, or as they're known to girls, the tools of ignorance.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tools of ignorance. Here we are. You know what that is, right, Steve? Do you know what tools of ignorance? No. That's catcher's equipment, right?
That's
Artie?
right, the tools of ignorance.
They call them the tools of ignorance. He's so young, this kid.
Well, I mean, now we're
wholesome, this kid.
Now we're starting to sound like our grandfathers, though, a little bit. You know,
do you mean?
I don't know, the tools of the tools of ignorance.
What?
You know,
the squared circle. It's a boxing ring.
I thought of one other great thing that Harry Carey said once on the air. I mean, I don't know if he was drunk or not, but the Cubs were in a pennant race, and a guy hit a line drive off the Cubs pitcher's back, and it went up in the air, and the shortstop caught the ball, so it was an out, but like a freak play that should have been a hit. And Harry Carey went, "Ah! God wants the Cubs to win." He would start off a sentence by going, "Ah!" That's become like one of my. That's up there with Foghorn Leghorn for me as the Harry Carey clip.
His bar is still in Chicago, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I tried to go into it twice. It's 8 deep.
Right.
It's just a madhouse.
Why not?
I've been by Wrigley. Like 3 times in the off season.
Yeah.
I was always working Chicago in the winter.
You never been to inside Wrigley?
Not inside. No.
It's so great. Man.
I heard
it is. It's so great.
But
it's so great.
I would love to see it, especially when Theo Epstein invites me.
Yeah,
traitor.
Traitor. I don't know.
Are you going to pull up Foghorn Leghorn? No, that's it. We don't have that capability.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
That's a homophobic chicken.
I'll say there's something kind of you.
Yeah.
If
he's actually grossed out at the thought of a kid who might be a little swishy.
Like,
I'm offended by that.
I thought. Well, it is wrong.
Laugh into the mic.
It is wrong. It is wrong to be offended. I mean, because
Foghorn's not really.
Well, but the only reason
I have a right to not like that type of stuff.
What's funny about that clip is if you watch it, the only reason Foghorn thinks the kid's gay is because he doesn't want to play baseball. That's geez. I mean,
back then that was enough in the day.
Yeah, man.
Back then that was enough. There wasn't a million different, There wasn't dance class for guys and Candleton Bowling. If we get the loft that they're going to build us,
right?
If we go to DirecTV, all those dreams.
Yeah.
I grew up in New England. Candlepin Bowling. I'm probably the only one in the room. Do you know what, Aaron? You know? Did you go to school? No. Where are you from originally? Virginia. But how do you know Candlepin Bowling?
What is that?
Because I travel. I'm a worldly guy.
What is Candlepin Bowling? It sounds awful.
No, it's actually great. You'd like it more than 10-pin.
Right.
The ball's about the size of
I don't like 10-pin at all.
Okay.
No.
But this is more.
What is it?
Takes more hand-and-eye coordination. The ball's about the size of a softball.
Right.
Okay? And it's 10 pins, tall, skinny pins, and you can use the deadwood.
Oh, okay.
When they knocked over. So it takes... You know what I mean? If you were good at baseball and had a good eye,
I did have a good eye.
Yeah, you can play the deadwood stuff. It's a lot harder I went, we called it big ball, 10 pin. We called it big balls from New England.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I went, I got a 148 or something, which I know isn't great, but it was like, you know what I mean? It was like.
Well, you were an athlete, man.
No, now, if I went. Well, Aaron's laughing at that. He said I was an athlete. He almost fell out of his chair for crying out loud.
Well,
I was. Well, but he's talking about.
I'm talking about the fact that he's got hand-eye coordination because he was an athlete, and
three-letter guy in high school, and I played college football.
I was an athlete at one point, and then
you can hit. You can hit a baseball. I've seen you do it.
I can hit a baseball. I can shoot a basketball, but I used to sort of look like an athlete, and now at some point I look like.
No, you look like Valverde.
No,
a relief pitcher.
Well, I swear. At one point, I wasn't a bad-looking guy who got tan, and I woke up one day in the early '90s, and I looked like Vic Tayback, the guy who used to play Mel on Alice.
Better than waking up looking like Alice. But look, man. First of all, if you want to see Artie, the best I've ever seen you look was in Bear League. Even my wife's watching. Go, Artie's a handsome guy. I go, yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's about.
He just loves carbs at 4 a.m.
It's
like I do.
Well, now I'm eating a lot of turkey wraps. Like there's a difference. I love how that they think that sounds healthy because it's a wrap.
I know.
It's worse than bread. It's an enormous pita wrapped in a
17-inch flour. Look, a 17-inch flour. Look, it looks like oven mitts. What do you call those things? Pot holders.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good for you either. What is though? My wife buys these balance bars. The 71 ingredients I can't pronounce.
Yeah.
That's got to be good for you.
Right.
Well,
now there's this whole thing now that
my ass pipe is rotting like a summer squash in October.
Now there's a big thing where no one's allowed to have gluten. Gluten is the enemy.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, come on. My grandfather lived to be 111. I think, like in the 30s, all he ate for dinner was like
he asked for gluten pie, didn't he? And then he'd finish his meal with an unfiltered Pall Mall.
I mean, sometimes for dinner he'd eat like a hammer,
I know. I'm down to dirt and Twizzlers. That's the only things left in my diet. I get the metabolism of a paralyzed sea elephant. And every time I'm trying to lose weight, you got your buddies giving you advice. Why do you got to have 5 slices of pizza? Why don't you have 1?
Right.
Well, because, what do I have, an evening gown competition come up? I don't know about.
Because pizza's good.
Yeah. I don't want to be teased by my food. There's 8 steaming slices there. I'm going to eat 1?
That works into my segment, well, yeah. You want more than 1 slice of pizza? Well, yeah.
Well, yeah. Put that under the well, yeah segment.
What I hate, what's worse is when, like a skinny, sort of good-looking chick will tell you, no matter what I do, I can't gain weight. And I'm like, hey, you ever try putting mayonnaise on pizza? I mean, what do you mean you can't gain weight? You can't figure that out?
That's my wife.
Yeah.
My wife, she can't. She got a metabolism of a hummingbird. Makes me sick. And she never makes a duty. I don't understand. But
well, that sounds like a good woman who needs a doctor. Hey, my wife never makes a duty. My wife she's got the metabolism of a hummingbird. What's the score? Never makes a duty.
It's Nick and Artie. We'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Tomorrow.
We love you. Bye.